You have to want it more than everyone else. Not just a little more, not just enough to talk about or try when it's convenient, but with an obsession that borders on madness. When they're sleeping, you're working. When they're complaining, you're adapting. When they're celebrating small victories, you're already focused on the next mountain. When they quit because it hurts too much, you push through the pain because the alternative, giving up on what matters most to you, hurts even more. This isn't about talent.
Day 72, I'm Cole. This is my journey of becoming a professional soccer player, building a bootstrap business, and becoming a better version of myself. Today was filmed with editing the video, going to the gym, doing my soccer workout, and then a little bit of work on the calendar app and the nutrition app at the same time. Here's what I learned today. I have a few little points before I get into the last part of the mini series that I have. The first thing that I want to talk about today is what you should be thinking when you are in the moment of doing your workout. So I was thinking about this today when I was doing my cleans. I previously hadn't been very good and I was mostly focused on my form today. While I was doing my cleans, I talked about it yesterday, how you have to condition your mind to think the right thoughts. I made a significant effort today to not go on my phone when I was in between sets on my workouts and just resting. I would just sit there and think about doing more. While I was waiting, I would just continually think more, push harder. And I think it made me get more out of my workout and have a lot more energy. I think there's a big difference between when you're going through the workout and just kind of doing it, and then when you're like really in the workout. Conditioning yourself with telling yourself to push harder continually will get you more into the workout. The next thing that I want to talk about is you can only change a few things at one time. You should start with the change that's going to have the biggest difference, because when you get from point A to point B, maybe change 3, 4, 5 that you wanted to make isn't as important anymore. The biggest change that I've decided to make over the past week is that I want to get completely off of YouTube and completely off of Instagram. So I knew uploading these videos and as well as creating the montages, I had to get on YouTube and Instagram to access me uploading the video as well as me getting the sounds. So I already have my sounds saved in my profile. So I made a link directly to that so I don't have to go through the Instagram interface. And then also for the channel page, I made a bookmark directly to my YouTube studio so I don't have to go through the homepage and then get stuck watching video after video. Now, I also have Unhooked, which is a YouTube Chrome extension, which doesn't show you the homepage at all. I can only watch videos that are in my watch later or videos that I specifically look up. At least for me, I'm not gonna look up some like anime thing that I watch. I'm only gonna look up something that I'm really interested in that's gonna drive me forward. If you find that you're even gonna do that, I would suggest getting off the app entirely, just completely blocking it from internet access. And then when you do make the biggest change, you may have an idea of what changes you want to make after that. What you don't understand is that all the pieces on the board are gonna completely change. So when you're starting out, you're thinking like, I wanna be this great person, I wanna change my life into this, but having so much planning of I'm gonna do this and then that and then that and then that, you don't even know after the first step what the board's gonna look like at that point. You might be a completely different person. You might not have some of the problems that you thought were gonna be down the line, or maybe there might be another problem that's bigger. Trying to do long-term planning in terms of what changes you're gonna make, just start with the biggest change, and then after a week or so, or when you really notice a difference from the start to who you are now, you have to reanalyze the board and say like, what thing can I add or take away from my life that would significantly impact me the most? And you have to continually do that week after week, month after month, and you'll eventually become someone who is exceptional. The next thing that kind of builds on the previous point is that you have to do the hardest thing that you're avoiding, not just what you're good at. This is specifically in business. A lot of businesses have something that's really hard that will add a shit ton to the business, but they're avoiding it because it's not what their expertise is. People tend to want to stick to something that's easy and tend to stick to something that they know they can do. You have to be willing to take the risk and jump into the new thing if it is the biggest bottleneck in between who you are now or who you want to be in the future. And then especially for business, if you know what the biggest problem is, you're avoiding it and just trying to focus on what's already working, you're never going to grow to a bigger size than what you currently are now. First, you have to analyze your situation, whether it is in business, whether it is in your life, based on this data. What is the thing that's getting in the way the most? Typically, the actions that are going to have the most positive effect on you are going to be the hardest things. So you're going to want to push it off and not do it. In the moment, you're going to be like, is it really worth it? Do I really want to go through this journey? But if you never confront the hard things, you'll never become the person that you want to be. You'll always be stuck at who you are right now. And to me, and I hope to you, that that's a terrible feeling. Just imagine waking up on your deathbed, or even 5 years later, and you wake up, you look around your life, it's not what you want it to be. Where did it all go wrong? And you think back to your life of like, what decisions have I made that led up to this moment? Why am I not where I want to be? You're going to look back and see that there was a bunch of decisions that you should have made, but you didn't feel like it, or you thought they were too hard, so you put them off and then never ended up doing them. So choose the hard thing that you're avoiding to do. It will have a significant impact on your life going forward. Every decision that you make compounds going into the future. So a small decision today could mean a completely different life in 10 years. Now, on to the last part of the mini series of how to create your ideal life. The last part that I wanted to talk about was how to get ahead of people when you are behind, whether they're smarter than you or just in a more advanced place than you are. The first thing that it takes is obsession. You have to be obsessed about whatever you're doing. You have to think about it all the time. You have to spend all your time doing it. The way I've structured my life is that I spend all my time only focusing on soccer, building the business, and then also this YouTube channel. Through those goals, I think I am becoming the person that I want, but it's not something, that goal isn't something that I can do on its own. It's something I achieve by doing the other goals. You have to spend all your time thinking about and executing on the goals that you have. Since you are behind, you do not have the same luxury that other people have, taking their time, taking weekends off, taking time off to enjoy their life. You have to push so much harder than they do. And the way you do that is by being obsessed, constantly trying to get better, constantly trying to do more, constantly trying to leverage more, learn more. Anything that will give you an advantage should be your focus. Being in a bad spot is okay because it plays in to the paradox of change, where if you're in an all right spot where it's pretty good, like there's a little bit of problem, but it's not actually a big deal, you're probably not going to make a change to become a good person. If your job's pretty good, it has pretty good benefits, the pay's pretty good, the people are all right, you're probably not going to change. But if you're in a really bad job, you don't fuck with the people at all, you're super unhappy, super unmotivated to do something, you're more likely to make the change to a good job than if you were in a pretty good job going to a good job. You're in that part right now of where you're in a bad spot. So you have to be obsessed with getting yourself into a good spot. You do that by outworking the person you're competing against. But if you really want to reach the top echelon of what you're trying to do, you have to be obsessed. No one who's ordinary is going to be able to take themselves from being behind everyone into the top percentage of the world in whatever endeavor you want. It's okay if you think you're ordinary right now, but you can teach yourself to be extraordinary. Moving on, the next point that I have in to how to beat people who are more successful is study their mistakes and study other people's mistakes. A lot of people have already gone on the path that you're going on, so you might as well learn from the mistakes that they made along the way, learning from their journey and then taking the solutions that they implemented them and implementing them before the mistakes come up will give you an advantage and shorten your learning curve. You want to absorb as much information from people who have gone on the same path as you and then refine based on all the accumulated knowledge, looking at what stalled them or what they overlooked that was really important later in their career or later in the point that they're at. You have to take that and then make it a priority now so that when you do come up against that obstacle, it's not going to be the same for you. You're going to be able to just breeze right through it. The last point that I have is kind of similar to obsession, but you have to outrepeat, out-adopt, and outlast your competition. For my juggling, the amount of reps I do on a daily basis, I'm constantly trying to push more. I'm constantly trying to get more reps so that my touch is beyond anyone else's. I do this by doing the same mundane, boring juggling day after day, week after week. Over time, I'm going to continue to be consistent, going to continue to juggle. I'm going to continue to push myself to do harder variations and do more reps. Over time, it's going to take a while. It may take years, it may take a decade, but I'm going to be significantly better than anyone else who is at my skill level right now because I'm willing to put in the reps over and over and over again. And then learning from my own mistakes, taking as much data as I can, and then trying to adopt whatever the best practices are. You have to do this by exploring kind of what's around. Something that I've done for soccer is finding a simulation. I have this program called Be Your Best, which is a VR headset game where you look around, you basically do the mental parts of playing soccer. Using that program helps train my mind of how I should be thinking and how I should be moving my head and looking around when I'm in an actual game. I'm gonna have more experience and be better prepared for any situation. Another thing that I just got off Amazon today was a sports goggles where they have the bottom half of the eyes closed. These are basketball vision goggles, so people won't look at the ball when they're dribbling. I'm gonna do the same thing but for soccer. I realize that I have a problem where I'm looking down at the ball. I realize I have a problem that when the ball comes to me, I'm looking down and not looking up the field, looking for a pass or my teammates. I think I do have pretty good vision, but I would be a lot better of a player if I didn't have to focus on the ball when dribbling. So my plan is to use these blockers, use these goggles, and work on my dribbling daily after my juggling session so that dribbling will become second nature to me. I won't even have to look at the ball. I know where the ball is because I've practiced it so many times. Then the last thing is Outlast. You have to be willing to go through shit for an extended period of time. If you want to be something great, you can't expect it to happen overnight. Otherwise, everyone would do it. You have to be willing, and it's gonna take time. You're gonna fail. You're gonna be in the moment. You're gonna question why you're doing this shit. Or there's gonna be a day where you just take off because your mind's absolutely done and you feel like, oh my God, like I don't wanna do this shit anymore. I just wanna go back to my old life, watch YouTube, and fuck off. You're gonna have bad days. I've had bad days, but it's important to, over time, increase the amount of time between bad days. My last bad day was Sunday. My plan, honestly, I don't even know if this is feasible for me, but I don't want to take a day off until Ilian Dawn, which is July 20th. So I have to be absolutely on top of my shit for the next month. But I cannot enjoy the moment if I'm constantly thinking about work. In order for me to be satisfied to enjoy the moment, in the meantime, when I am at home, in the apartment, I have to be working. I'm gonna continue every single day to do my work. I'm not gonna let myself fall into the distractions that I have been throughout my life. I'm a changed person and I'm gonna keep it that way. Consistency is extremely important when you're building a skill. For my juggling, just doing one session every now and then, it's not gonna make that big of a difference. I saw that this semester in Spain. There would be some times where I would get on a streak, it would be a few days, and then it would be a week before I did my juggling again. And I delayed getting back to it because I knew I wouldn't be good at it. I'm sure you can connect this to something in your life where you've wanted to either get into the gym, get into starting a business, get into doing an activity that you know is beneficial for you. You start out really well for the first week, maybe 2 weeks. You're every single day at it, and it's new and it's exciting. But after the first 2 weeks, the initial motivation, the novelty kind of wears off and it's just not as special as you thought it was going to be. This is where you have to lock in. This is why having a goal of where you want to be is super important, because if you don't know why you're doing it, you're not going to do it in the first place. If you don't know why you're doing it, when times get tough and shit hits the fan, you have to remind yourself why you're doing all this. Day after day, it's not going to be easy. You're going to have bad thoughts. You have to continually condition yourself to think more positively, to think more productively, to think in a way that the version of yourself that you want to be would think. And then over time, it's not going to happen in a month. It's not going to happen in a year. It may happen in a decade, but it may take 2 or more. You will beat everyone else who was at the same position as you. And that's because you were obsessed. You learned from others' mistakes. You learned from your own mistakes and you didn't quit. That's all I have for today. Thank you for watching. I hope it was valuable. Day 72, new uploads every day. Thank you for watching. Good night. Really good day overall. Going to sleep and dinner took a little bit longer than I intended it to, so it kind of messed me up, but I'm going to continue
stay on my schedule and get to sleep at a reasonable time.